Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast,
What's up?
episode
What's up?
83. Marching right on to that number 100. We're excited, happy to have you here. A lot of stuff has happened in the last week. It's mighty cold down here in Tennessee. I don't know how it is at your house, but man, it is cold here. 15, I think it is.
Man.
It was 3 yesterday morning when, yeah, no, look here. 18 is the high today. And by 6, what time is that? Okay. By in the morning, when Logan gets up to leave, it will be 3 degrees again.
Oh man.
So that is some major cold. I've been having to go to the side of the house where my little drain line comes off my dehumidifier, and I'm
Uh-huh.
having to bust the ice out of that just because it's freezing. Like there was an icicle hanging out at that long yesterday. And of course, it backs up into the dehumidifier and spills out under the house. So yeah, it's cold. Is
Yeah,
it?
it's been pretty cold here too. It's in the teens last night. It's supposed to be about 12 or 13 tonight. It's not getting above freezing here today. A little warmer than where you are. But yeah, I think it don't get above freezing until Thursday here. And so here's your good one to get us started with talking about the cold. Here's a little miracle for you. So, we rarely deal with cold like that where it's below freezing for multiple days. But you grow up, you kind of learn the routine when that happens. I've
Mhm.
lived here in the house I'm at, this one that I built now for almost 20 years. I've never had a frozen pipe. I mean, I drip water at every faucet, every tub. Like, I mean, anytime, not anytime it's below freezing. That's extreme. I mean, but if it's going to dip below freezing, especially into the teens, and not get back above for a few days, once it gets below 20, you better be careful about it. I know that. And I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
had it. I didn't just have it barely dripping. I mean, I had it where between the cold and the hot, I had just the tiniest little stream that was unbroken at every single fixture. We got up this morning early, 6 o'clock or so. Everything was good. Wife got ready for work. Everything's fine. Mama got up a little bit later, got Mama settled in. Well, it got to be about 9 o'clock. I had been listing for a while, and I had been to a lot of times when it's going to, because it's done in the 20s. So if you're going back and forth doing your routine, like say the kitchen sink, I walk by there and turn it on, wash hands off and on through the day. A lot of times that one I don't leave dripping, so I'll just wash and I use that. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to get mom some water, and I went to the refrigerator, and the water didn't come out of the refrigerator. And I thought, I guess
Mhm.
that thing's broken. I turned my head over toward the sink, and I saw that, the sink was off. And well, yeah, because I washed my hands earlier. So I walked over there, and I thought, I'm just going to check to be sure. I opened it up. It spit a little air and nothing, locked.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I thought, oh no. I opened it wide open, nothing. Just a little air pushed out, and then it was done. I run to our bathroom, because I had both. There's two sinks, had both faucets, both sides of them dripping. Went in there, nothing. Open them wide open, nothing. Went to the main bathroom. I had the tub fixture and the sink both in there,
Mhm.
nothing. And so I had everything wide open. I waited around for about. I thought, well, maybe just maybe there's a little trickle, and it'll start. Nothing ever happened. 20, 30 minutes. I waited. It was everything's wide open, nothing coming out. So I called Casey and I said, babe, the water's froze. I said, and that's not good because it's not getting above freezing today, going back in the teens tonight. We've
Yeah.
got PVC. We don't have PEX. We got the old PVC
Oh
still.
boy.
And I said, so, we're going to have to be proactive. I'm probably going to cut the water off because once it stopped in the lines, I was hoping leaving them open, it would maybe push the excess, any that was in the house, because that's in the lines in the house. It'll push on out as the ice forms if it don't just bust and completely rupture. But I was thinking, well, maybe to push the air, a little bit of water out, and it expand this direction instead of busting the pipes. Having all these thoughts, my mind's going a million miles an hour, thinking, oh man, oh man, oh man, it's going to be a mess. And I'm thinking all the different places, all the work, and it's going to be still cold, and how wet it's going to be under the house when it unthaws or all this stuff. Well, I called one of the young guys at church, is a plumber, just got his license a while back. It's the pastor's son-in-law. And so I called him, and of course they're out on the job. Someone else is broke this morning, and I said, "Look, here's the situation." I said, "If you've got a place on the schedule, go ahead and put me on." We got them to process changing over to PEX like back in the summer, but
Mhm.
because we had so much going out on the little house for mom, we decided to put it on hold. I said, "Well, I said just go ahead and put us on, and don't worry about fixing breaks." Just he said, "Well, we bought a bunch of pipe and stuff to do any big repairs or any redos." I said, well, just plan on coming and just putting PEX in at mine. Just get it when you go under there, just pull all of it out, replace it with PEX, and then I know I'm good. I don't have to worry about it. I need to get it done anyway because I don't want to worry about freezing pipes, when I get old. And so anyhow, all this happened. I had this 20-30 minute conversation with him. I get off the phone, he said, I think I can get y'all in tomorrow morning, with me and his other partner come out so we can get it knocked out, by lunch or so. I said, okay, it sounds good. And so I'm thinking about what I need to do, to prepare between now and then to be able to flush toilets, that kind of stuff, Like, well, I'll call the wife back, call Casey, let her know what's going on. So I called her, and I was standing in the bedroom, and I called her. I said, hey, babe, I said, I just going to let you know that I talked to Brady, and he's going to, and I got about that far, and I heard something, and I walked toward the main bathroom, and I saw water coming out of the faucets. And I said, hold on a minute. I run out of there toward the kitchen. There's water coming out of the kitchen sink. I went to the main bathroom. The tub and the faucet are both running. I flushed the toilet. It's filling up. I went back to ours and flushed the toilet. It's filling up. I turned our shower on. It's running. I said, well, I was going to tell you that Brady was coming to change the pipes out to PEX tomorrow. I was going to go ahead and just bite the bullet and try to pay for that. But the water's running everywhere. I said it had been stopped for nearly an hour. It was still 22 degrees outside, Caleb. It ain't like it warmed up enough for it to thaw. If it had froze, I mean, anybody that knows about this stuff, that don't happen. I didn't go out there with no heater. There's no heat going. It's like, this is the way. And I know we can rationalize this, that there was some pinhole that eventually it was just a small air that just pushed its way through. We can rationalize all these things. She screenshotted while I was on the phone. She said, look at this message. As soon as I talked to her the first time, she messaged, we got a women's group at church that like a prayer group. She messaged the women's prayer group, and they had started praying. And less than 30 minutes later, I'm on the phone with her to tell her that we got someone coming to replace all the pipes tomorrow, and the water just starts running at every spigot.
Wow.
I'm going to praise God and give him credit. So I don't know how anybody else interprets that, but that's not normally how things happen with frozen water lines. So
no, I mean that if you've ever seen ice gets into something and it breaks. Like that's just
especially PVC. It usually shatters like glass. PVC does. It's terrible.
Yeah, it just ain't got nowhere to go. PVC's not flexible enough to handle all that pressure. And I've seen it happen a lot. And we have PEX under this house, and I didn't realize. Is it good for freezing? Like
PEX will expand. It's not supposed to bust if it. The only thing you have to worry about with it is what kind of fittings they use. They do make like a hard plastic fitting, like joint for elbows and stuff. But if they use the brass ones, and based on what I saw at your house, I bet, because it seemed like most things they tried to go not overkill, but like the more safe route on things.
Yeah,
so I bet you they use brass. A lot of people go ahead and use brass at all the elbows and stuff because they say with PEX, if you do that, PEX will expand. It expands enough to basically absorb any swelling from the ice, if you get ice in your lines or it freezes.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Really good to know.
Yeah.
I went under the house, we have that dehumidifier, and of course all the duct works under there and it's encapsulated, but I went under there yesterday when it was about 10 degrees outside and I had to do something, and man, it's like probably 65 under there.
Yeah, you're not going to have to worry about it at your house.
I'm like, these pipes are not going to freeze. Like they're not going, unless we have an Arctic blast 40 below, or, and still then, as long as the air conditioning heat unit don't go down, it's probably going to be fine. So I was impressed with that, but I still drip my faucets because it did get to 4 degrees. I was like, I'm still going to drip them just in case, But yeah, it's been brutally cold. And of course, if there is a silver lining to all of that, it's that when it's 3 degrees outside, it's not windy. Can you imagine 3 degrees with like 2-mile-an-hour winds?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That would be brutal.
I was going to say real quick, the thing I think for you and anybody else, like in your situation, like I don't think you'd ever have to worry about them freezing under your house because of the way it's designed. I don't think that'd be an issue for you, period. And worst case scenario, if you lived in an environment way further north because of the way yours is laid out under your house, you could always add one small vent off the duct underneath there that you can just open and close when you need it. And so, to open it up when on the coldest
Yep.
nights, and that would fix it. But what you don't know, like as far as you are from the road, from your meter to your
Did I
house,
lose you?
what you don't know is if there's a
Or did
place
you
where the
lose me?
pipes kind of,
And he's gone. Are you back?
I never left on
You
my
left
end.
me.
Really?
Did I leave you?
I don't, you were freezing up on my end.
Uh-oh.
Maybe your connection, because you were skipping and freezing up, but you never went away. It may be my connection, but mine never disrupted on my feed to StreamYard. But yeah, I was just gonna say, you never know how deep the line may be from the water meter to your house, and if there's a place where it's shallow, like it should be plenty deep, but if it's only like 4 inches deep, you get 3 or 4 days where it's like down to single digits, not out of the teens during the day, and the ground can freeze deep enough to freeze it between your house and the road if you don't have water running.
Oh yeah, it can.
But anyway,
For sure.
that's neither
I've
here
seen
nor
that happen too. I've seen that happen too, and it's not a pretty picture.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot happen this past week. Of course, we had some more snow.
Man.
We've still got a little bit on the ground. It's kind of a dusty snow. It ain't like the snow we had the week before, but it was pretty until it's kind of just dusty now. But we had finally a few eBay sales come through. We had 2 days straight with nothing, and we've talked about it before. You're like, we're not super big eBay conspiracists where, eBay done something, they took away our listings, but still there is something about when they update their system, something happens, it slows it down or jams it up or something, because somebody pointed out what you had said about Facebook, the integration with Marketplace. And then they pointed out that there was a AI update. And then they also pointed out something else. I can't remember exactly what it was. But there were 3 things that eBay updated. So could that have something to do with the slow sales? Possibly. But finally, I had 11 over the weekend, so I'm not going to complain about it. It wasn't as much as I wanted it to be. Obviously, we could always want more.
Right.
Want to get green about it, I guess. But it was decent. It wasn't huge or nothing, but it was decent.
Yeah, that comment you were mentioning, that was Miss Lachey Resales. Let me read that one real quick, because I actually that's the one I captured. It just goes well with what you're saying. That was in her follow-up to what you had said, that she said that about the AI for the pictures, and then also the Facebook partnership. But before that, she had commented kind of along the lines of what we had said. Said my sales have been abnormally slow or even non-existent for the last week. Said 4 no sell days out of the last 7. She did say I'm a small seller, but normally get at least 2 to 3 sales a day. Nothing changed on my end. She said generally when this happens, I find out about an eBay update happening. It doesn't affect all of us, but it definitely affects a lot of us, in my opinion. She said I started a sale to hopefully get some traction going. Last January was my best month of the year, so I definitely wasn't expecting this result. Hopefully the second half of the month will be outstanding. So she's also very positive, by the way. If you've never went over, she does videos sometimes, but she does these walks where it's like just, basically just positive encouragement, just walk and talk, but again, just a really positive influence. But it, that's something that issue was talking about that I think was being experienced across the board, the slow sales. Now mine, I feel like mine have been maybe more consistent than some people's. And like you said, yours have picked up. I had 23 over the holiday weekend, 23 sales.
That's really good.
Over $1,000 worth of sales. So, I mean, I was tickled with that. It's one of the better weekends I've had in a long time. So,
speaking of those $1,000 worth of sales, let's talk about that. You messaged me the other night, and you're like, "Look what just sold," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, and you just listed them like that. What, a day before?
The night before. Yeah. The day and night before, I'd worked on them. And so, I actually, and I know we've been kind of more not doing it in a certain order as far sell of the week wise, right? For me, I had several good sales. Besides this that I'm about to say, like I had 2 or 3 like $75 or more sales that went along with that. Like I brought these in because I hadn't finished packing everything. I left a couple things out to show, but like I sold these 2. These are sealed. The Hollies. I've had these forever. I say forever. I've had them for several months. It was that first CD buy. but I had them priced at about $100, and I've had some interest, and I've passed on some offers in the past that I felt were a little low. I got an offer for 75 on them and decided to go ahead and take it. So I mean, it's 60 cents though into $75, you know. So I
You
mean,
can do better than that.
yeah, well, I mean, I was hoping to do 100, but you know, it is what it is. So the thing you mentioned, so the last time that I went and bought from the guy that I got those from, that first time I went, I've been there about 4 times now and bought different things that he's put up for sale. And this last time, we went into his storage building where he had pulled all the stuff out of his dad's house, what was left of what he hasn't sold. And
Yeah.
I was going to look at books and some leftover music. And while I was there, before we got done, there was this like those little slide out tubs, those like you get at Walmart. It's got the little drawers, and
Yeah.
it was the clear one. It was just there by itself. It had been pulled out, and it just had stuff down in it. But I saw the word Disney on some stuff that was in it from the side, and I asked. He had told me the area where none of that was for sale, so I wasn't bothering that. But this was not sitting there. I said, "Well, is this stuff that you'd be willing to sell or whatever?" And he said, "Yeah, just take a look at it or whatever." So I got it down and I pilfered through a little bit. Well, I saw some Disney pens, and I know the pens can be pretty decent. Some are great, but most of them aren't super expensive, $5 to $10 each. But there were quite a few. There were probably like 12 or 15 of those. And I thought, well, that's enough reason for me to throw it in there, and there was some other stuff, but I didn't pay attention. Okay. Didn't pay attention at all. But one of the things that was in there were these 3D lenticular cards. They're like 5x7s. And so it's those that are like holographic. They see how it changes.
Yeah.
So, like, I remember, I don't know if you ever bought, like, they had the Sport Flicks cards, for instance, the baseball cards, and it showed the batter swinging,
Yeah.
and, sometimes in the little, twist machines that have the little small 3D things. Same type of stuff here, but just, a little more detailed. So there were like 17 of these when I got home, and I was looking through them, and I didn't think nothing of them. I put them back up. I thought, well, that's nothing. Looks like something to come in a movie box,
Yep.
and anyhow. So when I got around to finally looking them up, I looked up the first one and I found a sold comp for like $50. I said, "Casey, come here. Look at this."
Yeah.
And I said, this sold for $50 last time it sold. I looked up another one and there wasn't even one of them. And I thought, well, that's odd. So I did the 3-year thing, and like there only been like 2 so what it come to find out, these must be pretty rare, like some of these especially. There's not many come up for sale. Well, I had to price some of these myself. Like this one sold for $70.
Golly.
I mean, that one sold for $70. And so, I sold 9 of these to the same guy. And so it's around $420, $425, something like that together. He
Oh,
come in, and so we had loaded up to go to church. So last Sunday we had the fall, right? We didn't get to go to church. This Sunday, much different experience going to church. I'm not trying to say it's about, we wouldn't go to church because of money, not like that, but
right.
just the difference in, the feelings and emotions we were going through with mom last week. And then this Sunday we get in the truck and we barely get off of our little side road that we live on onto the main highway. And I hear the first cha-ching. And as we're driving toward Berry, cha-ching. It was coming to Berry, cha-ching. We're on the other side of Berry, cha-ching. We're leaving the town limits, cha-ching. Going down. We're only 10 miles from church, and all these sales take place between the house and church. And every time I look down at my phone, it's $50, $40, $70, $50.
Oh,
and so anyway, this one's Peter Pan. But 3D Disney lenticulars, LENTICLUAR, lenticulars. And springtime, that's got the fairies like Tinkerbell, and I think there was a movie made on that at some point. Cars, Mulan. I'm not trying to take a bunch of time with these. I just thought these were so cool. I had to show them. And I got about 6 or 7 more of these for sale. So if they average $50, there's probably another $300 or better.
That's so crazy. So crazy. I wonder if that come with like remember the Disney Movie Club?
That's what this is.
Oh, okay.
So that was short-lived, right? The movie club didn't last all that long.
Those are probably pretty rare then.
Yeah, I mean, it was around in the late 90s. I know into the 2000s, but is it still around?
I mean, probably in some form, but I don't think it's like that anymore.
Gotcha. Because used to, that's how they issued the pens and issued things like this. I also had a big stack of the lithographs, which are the ones that aren't 3D, but they're 5x7 cards, different ways. Some of them were like watercolor. Some of them were like full color gloss, different kinds. And I sold those as well. I sold those as a group for $35. I think there was like 8 of those.
Man.
So, yeah, I've sold a set of the pens already for, I think, it's 30, 35, something like that. I've done pretty good on. I've paid for my pick just off of the stuff that I threw in. That's the moral of the story. I asked about it. I said, well, I'll just throw that in there. Surely there's something in there worth selling.
Yeah.
And come to find out, that little bitty box is I had it basically everything that I listed out of that I had in a little shoebox, Caleb. And
Man,
when I
that
carried
is
it in there, it was about $1,000 between all the pins and all the lenticulars I thought, this is ridiculous. This is just crazy. I mean,
I love it
anytime
when
you can
it's
carry
like
something, it weighs 2 pounds altogether. And it's like, this is $1,000.
that.
So
Yeah, you
anyway.
think about, I mean, just, that's one of those probably one of those once in a lifetime type finds. I mean, you might find something here and there, but to find the entire box of stuff, you're
Mhm.
going to run up on that again, probably.
And I
And
mean,
it's just awesome.
it makes me wonder, how many people out there that maybe joined the movie club, were in it for 8 or 10 years and have a big old box of these somewhere up in a closet, don't even have no idea. Like, they
Yep.
may not be as valuable as we think they are, but the reality is a lot of them probably got played with and destroyed by the kids. A lot of them
Yep.
probably got discarded because they seem like nothing. But there are people that probably just put them away in a box somewhere and have no idea that they're even rare or valuable. And they may have like $2,000 or $3,000 worth of these things
Oh,
up on a shelf somewhere, just hanging out.
is there one of them that's better than the rest? Have you seen
Oh,
that?
yeah, they vary. That's what I said. They vary. Some of these sold, I think the least one was like around $30,
So
25.
as a whole, they're fairly valuable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. $25 to $30 seems to be the entry level. There might have been some that were 10 or 15 that were more common, some of the newer ones. But even some of the new ones, it depends on how many's made of them. Like some of the more obscure movies, I think that's why that Valiant one was so high, because Valiant's not a movie most people would say, oh, yeah, I remember that movie. I watched that. And you
Yeah.
say Lion King, everybody knows Lion King,
Yeah.
But yeah, but like the Lilo and Stitch one, there's other Lilo and Stitch cards out there like that, but that one is different. Like there's one that there was a whole bunch of listings for, but the one that I had, I think I was the only listing.
Wow.
And so it
Yeah.
was just that particular card. It was just just not available. Same way with the Peter Pan one. I mean, there was another Peter Pan one that was listed, but the one that I had wasn't listed. So I listed it at $55, $54.99, I think. I kind of wish I'd listed. The guy didn't even send an offer.
Right. You may
I
have
mean,
undershot
he's
a
just
little bit.
clicking buy it now, buy it now, buy it
Yeah.
now. I mean, it's like it's like somebody that's a big collector, maybe they know way more about it than I do, and it's like, oh my God, there's a bunch of these available. And it's like they
He's
was hurrying and
fixing to
scrolling through trying to snatch them up before somebody else could get them. That's what it made me feel. But it's like,
he's
ching,
fixing to be getting them graded and taking them to the auction house.
I don't care. I
But
don't
that
care.
wouldn't that be cool to find out? Like, okay, you made $400-500, and this dude made $400-500. I mean,
Oh, sure,
I love those kind of stories,
sure.
where everybody benefits and everybody wins. That's pretty cool.
And
So I venture to guess that that's probably your sell of the week right there, right?
oh yeah. But like I said, it's because it was all one. My
Yeah.
most valuable single sale would have been that Holly set, or like I sold. You may know. Have you ever heard the Woost word studies in the Greek? Kenneth Woost,
I think
the
so.
Greek New Testament. Yeah. So that was one of the sets of books that were there. There were a lot of those little sets. There were
Oh man,
history
that's gonna be
sets.
good.
Yeah, that was $75 I got for those. It's a 4-book set.
Nice.
So, and I've sold several sets out of that already for anywhere from $50 to $75. So I mean,
That's really good.
I did well. Book sets are a good thing to look for. Even some of those that are not very good, like some of those Time Life ones, where they only
Yeah.
sell for $7 or $8 each. If you run up on an estate sale where they got like the entire collection, it's not too bad pricey. Sometimes you really do well. Like you can move the collection has a good sell through if it's complete.
Yeah.
But maybe individually they're a hard push, out the door.
Mhm.
Which most people probably know that.
I bought some. Let me see if I can remember his name. You'll know who I'm talking about, I'm sure. Oh man, Oliver B. Green.
Oh yeah,
Oliver B. Green. I
those are
found
good.
some of his books, which they're not like super uncommon or anything. They're just you don't see them at every estate sale, and
They're kind of uncommon to be in good condition because
they
I haven't printed
be
them
in
in a
good
while.
condition. Yes, they are. But I found like I don't know, like 5 or 6 of them at a estate sale one time, and of course the books was all like 50 cents, and they're watching me. They're over there like, why is he picking out like I had a stack, of
Yeah,
all the religious books and anything I thought was good. And some of them Oliver B. Green books was going for like 40 and $50,
Mm-hmm.
just because
Yep.
they're not readily available like we're talking about.
Yep.
You just go to a Bible bookstore or a Christian bookstore and buy those. You have to actually buy them online usually.
Right.
But yeah, I like finding stuff like that. So since you got to celebrate your awesome sale of the week, and I am happy for you, I was excited when you sent me that message. I was like, man, that type of stuff, I love finding stuff like that, but it
Yeah.
blows me away. Like, how
Oh
in the
man.
world, But like you said, that guy he may have had all those things saved as search terms, and when your stuff come up, he may have been like, there it is,
Hey,
bam, bam,
man, I'm
bam, bam, bam,
telling you.
just knocking it out as hard as he could go.
I mean, $75 for that.
Yeah, and how easy
Or
is that to ship?
$70.
I
Sorry.
mean, yeah, and he bought
Well, I'm
all
going
that.
to.
And you can
Yeah.
combine everything. I mean, that's going to be awesome. So my sale of the week is actually Tanya's sale of the week. She's been rocking it here lately. I've been kind of on the back burner, but she sold I don't even know if I know how to say this. It's Gillows, Guillow, Gillow Curtis P40 Warhawk Flying Balsa Wood Model Airplane Kit. And she picked that up at one of our thrift stores probably about a month, 6 weeks ago, something like that. And she said, I don't know if this is any good. I comped it, and she said, I think it might be worth 30 or $40. She paid $5 for it. And I was like, well, that's good. 30, $40 off of five is good, Tanya. That's really good. Come to find out it was worth $66.59. So she underpriced herself a little bit, and it came out a little bit better. And that was I think I had a 10% sale going right now. I can't remember. So it was like a $70 ish model. So that's a really good one. Of course, it was sealed up new in the box and everything. I love selling stuff like that.
That's awesome.
No questions asked. It's sealed up, it's new.
Yeah.
Uh, it's going to be good. So I
I love
love
doing
selling
that
stuff
and
like that.
sending anything out of the country.
Yes, absolutely. We love you, international
Yeah.
people. Keep
I
buying our
always, I'll do a little dance every time it says international. I'm like, yes, a
yes.
stress
You
free
return
sale
it
on
if
that
you
one.
want to. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Especially if it's one of your higher dollar items, it's like
Yes,
I shipped one
absolutely.
of those,
Or breakables.
yeah, I shipped one of those Danbury mints, one of those big ones. I
Uh,
shipped one of those out the other day to France. I was like, I don't know why somebody in France is buying this, but I'm glad they did because
yep,
I don't
yep,
I don't have to worry about it.
absolutely. So
Oh, and
I do want to send a congratulations out, and this is just for one viewer. One viewer only gets this congratulations. Mary McQueen, congratulations for your Ohio State Buckeyes. They are
oh
the
my
national
goodness.
champions. And I watched that and I was like, boy, the Irish boys they just getting manhandled there for the first little bit, and I was like, well, they tried, but then they made it a game. They made it a game down there at the end, and
And I'm telling it's like is it not funny? Just you go back and I'm my memory, I hold on to things. You go back, you look over a game like that, and Ohio State played well. They
yeah,
played well the
good.
whole game. They didn't necessarily play bad. They weren't really even stopped until the second half, like defensively, where Notre Dame got some stops. But you look at the whole thing in retrospect, Notre Dame had that first drive that was almost 12 minutes touchdown. They come back the next time and they had like 3 penalties before they could even go. And it's like second down and 35 or something. I mean, they just completely shot themselves in the foot, had to punt. Ohio State scored. They scored, first 2 times out, and then they get the ball the next time and they have that miscue on the snap and the tight end hadn't gotten by the center yet.
Yep.
And so on third down, they had the fumble snap, had to jump on the ball and they had to punt it there. And it's like that game just got out of hand so quick. And then, then you go down, they had the fourth down that they tried, right? That was that was in, Ohio State territory that they didn't convert, turned it over on downs. And then they also had the field goal where they kicked the field goal and bonked it off the upright when they were inside the 10-yard line, I mean, it was fourth and goal from the 6, I think, or the 7.
It was an extra point. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And that was during their big rally. Like if they would have got a score there, if they'd have actually gotten the end zone, and it's just amazing. Like the whole picture, like you put it together, and it's like they really played, even though they lost. And congratulations to Ohio State. I was shocked. Notre Dame played minus the uncharacteristic mistakes. They played well enough to win.
Yeah,
I
they
mean, I
did.
almost feel like the game was almost there in their lap, despite the fact that Ohio State still played an outstanding game, minus just a couple of errors. It's almost like they were both playing at such a high level for the most part. It was
Yeah.
those two or three things that just small little things, but man, it makes all the difference in the world, and the
I
outcome.
mean, yeah, what's the chances that you're going to knock a football off the upright that close?
Oh man.
Not great. That.
Mm-mm.
So they lost by 11. Well, that brings them down to 8. And then that one possession where they had Ohio State, basically it was like third and 8 or third and 11 or something like that, and Ohio State had just been rushing the quarterback trying to kill some time and just
Yeah.
secure the end basically. And then they throw it downfield like
Yeah. That
a prayer
long
type
play at the
play.
end of the game.
Yeah, and he just outruns
Yeah.
him, and it's like there's just a couple. I mean, that game really
Well,
hit on a couple of different plays.
and they had that, if I'm not mistaken, they had Ohio State because there was very few times when Notre Dame should have had them held to make them punt in the
Yeah,
first half. But one of the instances, I believe it was first half, wasn't it, when they had that rough in the passer call? Remember, he just shoved him at the end of the
just
play,
shoved him,
and
just finished it
it would
out.
have been fourth down. It would have been fourth down and a punt.
Yes.
But that
Oh
shove
my
kept the drive
gosh.
alive, and then Ohio State scored. And they wound up by like 3 touchdowns by the second half. And it was like, it wouldn't, obviously, I thought it was out of reach. I thought they were going to run away with it. But then coming out in
Yeah.
the second half, it turned into a fun game.
Yeah, that shove, man. It's just like I get it. I do because these boys are playing a national championship. They've never been
Yeah.
here before, and it's there's a lot of tension and anxiety and stress and work. You're in that moment, and dude just finished out his play. He just ran
Yeah.
on through and shoved him, and it's like, no, you feel bad for him, but
And
it
I have
is it
thoughts
is
on that anyway, just relating to football. It's like we've put this bubble around, and I'm not saying this shouldn't be protected. We put it's like quarterbacks are bubble boys. It's like
yeah.
the Patrick Mahomes thing this weekend.
Oh gosh,
I
don't
mean,
even,
we
don't
know
even.
he gets all the
Oh my
calls,
god,
but I mean, some of those are just so petty. They're just so petty. And the fact that I think the biggest thing with that, and you're seeing this, it's the same way in the NBA. You're seeing this across the board in sports, this attempt to draw fouls.
yeah,
Football's a different sport. Football is full speed, full contact. It's not basketball. And
right,
so, I agree. I think it was Aikman that commented. He said, on one hand, he gets it. He said, but if there's anything he feels like needs to be addressed, it's this concept, because Mahomes isn't the only one doing it. This
yeah,
concept of doing things to try to get a foul, like you're running full speed out of bounds, but you intentionally, because you're being chased and they're right on your heels, you intentionally throw the brakes on so they run into you as you're going out of bounds to draw a flag, and then you do this, just it's obvious on the replay in real time, and maybe to the officials doesn't look like it, but in the replay, it's like you're obviously doing like a basketball flop the way you're
yeah.
falling. You're throwing your hands and making it look so dramatic. And he's not the only one that does it. But the
No,
reality is this, like, it's a contact sport, and that's the kind of thing that will actually get you injured if you keep doing that, because
it is.
at some point somebody's going to say, you know what, I'm trucking the dude the next time he does it. I'm
Yep.
just not going to care. There's going to be a Vontez Burfict, or somebody like that that's just they're going to be
Mhm.
like, I don't care, man. I'm taking him down.
Mow
You
him
do,
down. That's what's going to happen. I couldn't
yeah.
believe the one call where the two Texans was the Texans, right? Yeah, the
Yeah, they
Texans.
hit each other.
They hit helmets like,
Yeah,
and they literally grazed. If they even touched him, they grazed Pat Mahomes, and it's like, how is that roughing the passer? I don't get it. And the other one was lame too. It's just like, I don't know. But I did hear that uh dang it, Buffalo, they play Buffalo, right? Next week. I did hear they already called a roughing the passer on Buffalo pregame. They already got it set up, ready to go. So I don't know. There's a lot of people calling the refs out on that stuff.
yeah.
It does look kind of shady. I mean, it's bad,
Well,
but
I think on one hand you gotta hand it to Patrick. It's like, I don't know if anybody watches NBA or not, but like James Harden a few years ago, he's the one that kind of got that whole 3-point foul thing started, where you pump fake and then intentionally, it's not a. I don't see how they ever would allow that to start being called a foul myself, but like then in the shot, intentionally lunge forward in an awkward way and throw your arm into the guy that you got off his feet. It's
yeah,
like nobody shoots the ball that way. When he goes up and he's wide open, he never shoots with that kind of form. He don't throw himself in a weird. but it's all about drawing a foul and getting 3 free throws. And it's like, I got him off his feet. So now I can do this really awkward thing where I release the ball and it gives me 3 shots. And I mean, that's kind of, with Mahomes and some of the others that have been doing that, some other quarterbacks, they're trying to get in the psychology of it. Like, okay, how can I manipulate the outcome of this play to give us an extra advantage? Yeah. And I mean, kudos to them for figuring out loopholes, but generally whenever that happens, whatever sport it's in, at some point it reaches the level where, okay, we got to do something about this. Something's got to change. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's within the next 5 years, there is a quote unquote Mahomes rule, where, quarterbacks that are
like conduct, something like 15 yards, that'll stop some of that.
Yeah. Where you have an offsetting flopping penalty, or, for intentionally creating, contact, or risk, cause that's a player safety hazard too. And that's what Aikman was talking about. Like, this is a safety hazard too, like intentionally causing these collisions to happen. So
it is. He's right. He's right. Well, point of the story, and we'll say it one last time, is congratulations, Mary. Your team won. Yeah. I just want to point out that Ohio State had to beat the mighty Tennessee Volunteers to get to where they are. Okay. They had to do that. They didn't have much trouble doing that, but they had to do that.
Mary, you'll like this. And when Ohio State played Michigan and lost, we have a little family group chat on my wife's side of the family, and I've mentioned this before, but her cousin and her husband, they used to be the operators of the Chick-fil-A on Ohio State's campus. They were there for several years, and then they got a main store location when they built a new store out on the Beltway. And so they're at a new location now. Just moved within the year, I think about a year ago, they moved to that location. But anyway, huge Ohio State fans. He always has been, and she kind of converted when they got married. She's from Alabama, but but anyway, I'd put a message in there, about Michigan. I was like, go Michigan or whatever in the group chat, and somebody's like, who is a Michigan fan in here all of a sudden? Like, this is supposed to be Alabama fans and a couple of Ohio State. Like, who is this? And they didn't recognize my number. I said, "Oh, this is Josh," And so I was ribbing them, and so last night, this was, of course, the day after, right? But last night we're sitting there, or not the day after. I don't know why I said the day after. It was, what time was it? Maybe it's this morning. That was this morning. I said last night, it was this morning. I said it backwards. When they got up this morning, getting ready to go catch the plane, it was like 7:00. I get this message, and it's like 3 pictures from the bleachers where it's showing the confetti going off, and then the stage with the celebration. And it was Ava, her cousin. She said, "Josh, this one's for you." But they were at the game last night, and so
that'd be pretty fun to go to a national championship.
She's like, "Ha, we we got the national title." So I said, "Okay, fair enough."
I really enjoyed. A lot of people may or may not know this, but there was a lot of Christian athletes on both teams. And I had been kind of following that the last couple of weeks leading up to that. And both quarterbacks are Christians. And I just enjoyed listening to Will Howard talk last night in the after interview. And he was talking, and he said, first and foremost, want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I always like to hear that, because, that just shows you where they're planted. But that seems to be becoming more and more and more of a thing with some of these sports here lately. You hear a lot more people talking about the Lord, and I just love it. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty interesting game, and my whole Super Bowl scenario got smashed this weekend. Smashed.
It is what it is.
But so Detroit, I was surprised. I was quite surprised. But me and Logan have been intrigued with Jaden Daniels. Like, we've been watching him, and
I know, same here.
Pulling for him. I want to see him go to Super Bowl. No rookie's ever done it. They have made the NFC and AFC championships, so he's doing that. But none have ever made the Super Bowl. And I'm like, boy, that would be something.
And I mean, the truth, him being a rookie from LSU, I'm surprised I'm not breaking out in a rash just from feeling that way. So I mean, it's just I'm just being honest, But I'm like you. I mean, it's cool. One of the things I'll throw some Alabama stuff in here. Like, one of the things that I get excited about this, it's like we all have our people we pull for. I've said before, I don't have a 100% strong tie to any team. I've become more. Of course, I'm not a coach, but I imagine how it must feel like for a Coach Saban. When he's got guys that he's mentored, across, decades that are scattered across the NFL right now. And especially within the last 10 to 15 years, players that are still active. And so you look at these rosters and I'm just like, and I know you got people like you had John Mechie who finally, come off after his leukemia stuff. He made a couple of big catches, but Jamison Williams for the Lions. You have Jahmyr Gibbs who transferred from Georgia Tech to Alabama, and then now he's showing out like a big dog, on the Lions. You had Derrick Henry through the playoffs. On the other side of the ball, you got Marlon Humphrey, the lockdown corner. When the Broncos are still in it, you got Surtain. You got Brian Robinson Jr. That's the running back, right? I think for the is that the Washington Commanders? And I think he's still the starter there. He's an Alabama guy. I mean, you just keep going. But my point is, it's like there's so many of them. I know I'm leaving some out, and it makes it hard for me sometimes. It's like there's 2 or 3 guys on both sides of the ball, and I mean, it's cool. It's cool to see them being successful at the next level. And same way for Jaden.
Jalen Hurts. His time until he went to Oklahoma. Wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he had 3 years at Alabama, so I mean, it's
he just wasn't going to get to start that last year, right? Wasn't it? Tua. Right. Took off.
Well, he didn't start the last year that he was stayed. Remember, Tua came in during the national title game, and we won that game. Hurts had been struggling, and then the next year Tua started, and Hurts come in. Remember when Tua got injured in the SEC title game, Hurts come off the bench. We hadn't been doing well, and he led us to a win in the SEC title game in the second half. So it was kind of a about face there. So, but it's just cool to see them having success, and doing well. And like I say, it's made it hard sometimes to figure out which side to cheer for the hardest if you're going to root for them. But it's just been fun to watch them doing well, even if they didn't win. A lot of them had big games, big plays. And that's been pretty awesome. So, I think the inevitability got us, though, this weekend. I was like you. I was really pulling for, I was kind of pulling for Lions and Ravens. That's just the matchup I'd like to have seen, I think.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think we both knew in the back of our mind or had this feeling that Kansas City is going to be a hard out. They just are. I mean, for whatever reason, they just keep finding a way to win. They've done it for years now. And it's really hard if it's like you got the one you want to win, and then you got the one you think in the back of your mind, but probably it don't matter, And
my new Super Bowl prediction, if I can change it, is I'm gonna go with a hard wild card with the Commanders versus the Bills.
Yeah, I would like to see that above the other matchup. I think
that would be some kind of exciting game because I feel like Josh Allen has earned a Super Bowl. He's played well. I feel like it would be exciting to see Jalen Hurts go. I feel like it would be exciting to see Jaden Daniels go.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes, I mean, if I have one I'm going to eliminate, I don't really care about seeing the 3-peat. I don't. They can go home. I don't care.
You mentioned Hurts. I mean, Saquon Barkley this weekend, man. My goodness.
Dude, he is a beast.
I mean, in the snow, that run he broke off in the second half in the snow. I didn't get to see it, but on replay. We went back to church, but after church we was headed out, and I said something to one of the guys as we was walking toward the car, that was kind of a fun game getting to see him playing in the snow as we was leaving, coming back to church. He said, "Oh, did you see?" Said Saquon broke another big run off, like almost 80 yards or something like that in the snow. And, I mean, crazy. I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I saw it." I said, "I just looked at my phone coming out the door." Said I said, "Wow." So we saw the replay and I thought, good Lord, over 200 yards in the snow, man. I mean,
I see
not root for him too. Cause he seems, you talk about an unselfish sounding guy, team player, just says all the right things. I mean, it's hard not to want him to win.
Did you see the little reel thing? I guess it's a reel. I don't know, where the GM or the owner or whatever he was of the Giants, his son's sitting there on the couch, and he said, "Dad, take Jaden Daniels." And he's like, no, we're going to stick with Daniel Jones. And he's like, we're going to trade Saquon Barkley too. And it's like, oh boy, looking back on that one, look at what you could have had. The type of, which of course, there's a lot of dynamics, but it's kind of wild with the way things go.
I feel like sometimes they talk about the psyche, and I know we've talked a lot of sports the last few weeks, but sometimes they talk about the psyche of the kickers and how delicate that is. I think the psyche of quarterbacks is way understated. Some kickers and some quarterbacks, some people in general just have a metal about them that they don't get rattled. They never get rattled. Nothing in life ever rattles them. They're always just cool and everything. But you watch the NFL and you see some of these guys. Some guys in college, I think, succeeded because of a system they were in and the players around them. They had so much more talent, maybe it made them look better than they were. But you
Yeah.
can't tell me that all of these quarterbacks that came out of college that were so uber talented, strong arm, great vision, great decision making. I mean, Bryce Young is undersized. Bryce Young played really well the last 4 or 5 games of the season, played horribly to start the season. But has there been a bigger dumpster fire than Carolina? I mean, Carolina's had Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and now Bryce Young. And you see what Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield did this year. And I mean, it's like the environment they're placed in and the way that the team is organized, the way it's coached, all those things. I think some quarterbacks have had such a bad experience in their first 2 or 3 years in the league that they can't never shake it. I don't think. I mean, they go somewhere else. It's like they're half the quarterback they maybe could have been because they can't never shake that feeling or whatever it is, man. It's like gets in their head and even their mechanics change. It's like they work so hard to make them what they want them to be that they ruin what made them good to start with,
Yep. Oh,
And
it
when you
happened.
when you see some of these young guys being really successful, it's like they make such a big deal about Jalen Hurts, well, he don't pass enough, he don't do this. Or maybe the coaches are smart enough that they have sculpted the team to fit who he is so he
Hmm.
can be uber successful and go to the playoffs every single year, I mean,
Yep.
and play for a Super Bowl already and possibly going back to a second one, in his first, 5 years
Exactly.
in the league. I mean,
That's exactly right. It's like, you know, there's never a single player that makes the team. If that were the case, Tennessee had Derrick Henry for what, 6 or 7 years,
yeah.
and yeah, they made the playoffs a couple times, but they never went anywhere with him. But now I know people could say, well, yeah, look at the Ravens. They lost this weekend. They lost to an extremely talented team also. And you take that dynamic when they figure out all the little intricacies of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and everybody else they got, they're going to be tough. I mean,
Well,
Derrick Henry, who knows how much longer he has, but if he can get a couple more years and Lamar Jackson's healthy for a couple more years, I think
yeah.
they've got a good shot.
And it's like this too. You look at that game, and it's not. I think it's easy to say no one team outplayed the other team really in that game. I mean, it could not have been any closer than what it was. It comes down to the smallest of things, and in the weather that it was, I would never want to be guilty of like trying to make it be one player's fault. But like the tight end Mark Andrews, two of the most crucial plays of the game just happened to involve him. Does that mean they couldn't have made a better play somewhere else in the game that would have extended a drive and they would have scored on it and they wouldn't have been in the place they were? That's what you got to remember in it, right? But with the game on the line there toward the end of the fourth quarter, they're driving the ball and he drops that pass over the middle that hits him right in the hands. He's a great, great player. Drops that pass, drive ins, they have to punt. Looks like they're not going to have a chance. And then right at the end, Lamar goes on a tear, runs them right down the field. They score the touchdown, line up. He extends the play on the 2-point conversion, gets the pass off, some miracle. It wasn't the perfect pass, but he gets it into the hands of Mark Andrews, and he drops the ball as he's falling across the goal line that would have tied the game and sent it into overtime. I
Yep.
mean, it's a toss up. I mean, it's like at the end of the day, you could say, well, it'd have been a better game if it went in overtime. I mean, would it really? I mean, it can't get any closer. It just can't get any closer. That was a great game. I don't know what it's like a 1A, 1B in that situation. They play 10 times, it's probably gonna be 5-5 that they
It
play
probably is. Yeah.
that time.
But who knows how cold that football was, too.
Whew.
It hit his hands.
It looked like it was
Cold
shining.
hands, cold hands, hard football, bam. Like, man, I don't know if
Yeah.
I could build it either. Like, just
Yep.
that thing hurt probably coming in there.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
All right, moving on
There's
from our football and sports talk.
a lot going on right now in that world. So,
There's a lot going on in the whole everything.
yeah.
I
Never
mean,
mind the fact we had inauguration over the
had
holiday weekend.
inauguration, new president.
Yeah.
President Trump is now in power. Love him or hate him, he is in power and signing a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Things start changing rapidly around here.
Yep.
It's pretty wild, but we live in a crazy time, man, where this world, just some of the things that are going on, it just unreal to see them transpire. I will say
Yeah.
that.
Meanwhile, our buddy Will is making fun of you last episode, right? Because I was beside you.
Beside me, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Bama J Bird beside me.
yeah. Yep.
Oh,
I had a good video over on my
you
channel
did.
too.
You did.
It,
Absolutely.
not like it didn't kill it or nothing. It got 1,500 views, which is good for me.
Well, it's the
Really
fact you
good.
had a video at all is what's impressive,
I had 4.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
And
That's good odds, I mean, you put 4
yeah,
out in a week.
I don't know that I'll do that again, but hopefully, I mean, it's kind of like a buffet. I filled everybody up. Now they're good for a while. I can prepare for a month, 6 months, and then come back.
Oh man.
I hope I don't do that, but yeah, I've got over here. You can't really see it, but I've got 6 totes I could show. I don't even know what's in those things right now. I know there's a bunch of stuff. I've got stuff on the table right now, a little bit of stuff to put up, and I've been trying to take pictures and put stuff up, but yeah, that video it gained me like 50 plus new subs. It's so weird, like one video that can do well can garner new subs because it's reaching new people and
Right.
50 plus people. So if you're watching this, because I think I did mention us, we picked up a few subs over here. Um, Happy to have you guys. Just thankful for you being here. But
Right.
uh, but yeah, that video, all I did was talked about. I think I hit on a timely subject. I think's what it was because I talked about my eBay store is dead. What's next? That type of thing. And
Right.
a lot of people was experiencing that in that moment. And it's like, oh, here's somebody that's talking about this. I wonder what he's got to say, and that's kind of what happened, I think. But along those same lines, I'll read my comment of the week that goes along with that. And this comment is from my channel, which is the Old Pass. You see, that's my sticker right there. Um, at Kathy Adams 2022 came in and she said, so glad YouTube chose your video for my feed. The last 3 days I have seen 0 sales after several months of prosperity. I've been so down, I was considering applying for a part-time job at Hobby Lobby. Lots of younger than me YouTube folks say things that make me think I am doing the wrong things, not working hard enough, not doing this, not doing that. And your message didn't convey that at all. It was quite helpful and encouraging. Thank you. She said, it's so frustrating when you think that you're doing all the right things and yet your sales tank unexpectedly. But it's a blessing when a seasoned seller says not to worry, just stay consistent. Although I've gritted my teeth this week, I've done just that, and today they picked up. I sincerely appreciate your honesty and relatability. Today you earned a new subscriber. I was blown away. Like that was a great comment. I was just excited to hear that the video could be encouraging because that's why I started my channel. I kind of got forced into it. Chris pushed me into it. But when I decided, when I made up my mind, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be uplifting, encouraging.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any negativity here. There's not going to be any doom and gloom. Yes, I'll be real. I will be real. And if there's something bad happening, I will talk about it. But I'm not going to take the negative approach. I'm going to try to look on the bright side,
Right.
And I've always tried to do that. And to be honest with you, there was a time, we talked about this before, where I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's time to just stop making videos. They're not helping. They're not doing a whole lot, this, that, and the other you think about. And then getting a comment like that, it's like thinking about all the people that you can help that I may not be able to get to this person physically, but I help them through this revenue or this avenue rather of YouTube. It just become a vehicle to get that message to them. So I was excited. I was kind of like, that helps. That makes me want to keep going and keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that encourages me. She said I encouraged her. That encourages me too. Just to be able to keep going and to try to keep helping somebody.
Oh, for sure. For sure. You know, I do. And I mean, I understand, and I guess it's just my brain. I probably should leave it there, but I understand too, like the two sides of it. I would say this, and I hope she's listening here. Don't let the other side of that always discourage you, but look at it as opportunity too to learn and to grow. Because I
Yeah.
think even sometimes I've made videos like that where I was saying if you're struggling, this might be the cause. It's not always trying to make someone feel like they're doing something wrong. The idea is to give someone an option for a solution when things aren't going right.
Yep.
And the reality is we can't change what eBay does, and we can point a finger just at that. But if there's people that are having success, and if you've had success in the past, there's some formula to that. There's something to do with that. And that's the goal though, is like encourage people, don't quit what you're doing, but maybe examine maybe what you're doing differently too. Because sometimes I know for me, like I can see the difference in results I get based on my practices as a reseller. I mean, it's just it really comes down to that. And it don't mean I'm not working, but like if I'm working really hard at listing stuff that don't sell as well, I don't get as many immediate sales.
Absolutely.
It still has to be listed.
It
But I
does.
don't get down on myself for having slow sales for the week when I'm listing a bunch of bread and butter commonplace items that I have to promote hard just to even get a viewer. That's what I've got at the time, so it's not going to move as fast. Look, when I'm putting one of kind stuff and things that are hard to find or things that have super fast sell through, and I put 50 of those items, I'm going to have a killer week. I know I'm going to have a really, really good week because a lot of that stuff's going to sell within a few days of posting it. But it can work the other way too. And so
Absolutely.
don't get discouraged by that. I mean, that's just part of the game. It's part of doing it, and it's just hang in there.
It
But
is. Awesome. That's awesome.
so I also had a small change in the business. I don't think it's permanent, but for some reason, um, of course, my wife was off. She works for the states. My wife was off yesterday. It's the national holiday, and so she comes up to me and is like, "So, is there anything I can do today to help?" And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, and I don't mean nothing ugly by this. She won't watch this no way, and I would never try to be mean. I mean, either way, but like when we started eBay back, in beginning of 2021, it was going to be at the time. My son was still here, of course. It was going to be the three of us. It was kind of my brainchild, but it was going to be something they were excited about it too. It was like we're going to work together. And for the first 2 or 3 months, especially the first month and a half, I had a lot of help, and it kind of began to taper off. And then it got to where, like she wasn't doing much. She took pictures to start with, and then it got to where she wasn't doing anything, which is fine. I wasn't complaining, but she wasn't really doing anything with it. And then my son, it got to where I had to about, like it was like pulling teeth to get him to like come through to just like, hey, will you mind packing while I'm at work today? Like and it wasn't much. I got 3 orders. Will you pack them out and carry them down to the post office? You're not working today. You're eating my groceries. Will you do this for me? And it's like, it got to where it's like, it's like, so I quit asking, when I finally just quit asking at all, it really quickly became my second job, before it
Yeah.
became my only source of income. And our only major source of income. But that being said, she hits me up, and I'm thinking to myself, because we've had this conversation. I've told her, I've tried to encourage her, because I would like her to help me. I would like her to get involved. I'd like for us to be able to, both of us, not to have to work a public job, to the new the revamped reseller clickbait, the idea, trying to stay unemployed.
Yeah.
So I would like for us both to be able to be unemployed and work, together. But that's what I want. It may not be what she wants, and I know she likes what she does. Nevertheless, all that said, here we are. We're almost 4 years, 3.5 years down the road from that start, and I'm like, sure, but I'm thinking to myself, but what are you going to do? Like where we were at, where I was at that point, I learned so much. Like we were doing so many things not quite right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everything we did, we were doing okay, but it was just like, yeah, you learn. So those first few months, the learning curve is fast. It's when you
Yeah.
start, and it's one thing to watch it. It's another thing to do it yourself. So I was
Yep.
like, yeah. I mean, but you don't know how to pack. You don't know how to list. You don't. I mean, what are you going to do? It's like, well,
Uh,
whatever you need me to do. And I'm like, okay, you're not getting this. I said, yeah. I said, well, why don't I pull some stuff out, and if you want to try to learn how to, comp and do some listing, I'll show you some stuff on that. So I pulled some jeans out, and I've got photographic evidence for all those 10 people that know both of us and have met us. There's Casey, hard at work with her phone in hand, taking pictures, measuring the inseam on a pair of jeans. And I gave her some that were simple and some that were challenging. Like this one, was a hard one to find. It's a pair of polo that's got like screen printing on them, about a $70 pair of jeans. But but anyway, she did good. She did about, I think, about 10 pair of jeans she went through, took pictures of, and put them in the draft bank for me to look over and make sure they're good. But yeah, I had to sit there and kind of do some training. We had a work session for a little while.
Wow.
And but it was encouraging. I thought, wow, that's awesome. So I appreciate her being willing to help on a day off, and for deciding all the times I've asked, and I don't mean this in a negative way, because she has her plate full, just like all of us. But all the times I've asked, it's just kind of yeah, oh yeah, I'll like, if something happens, someone needs to, like, there's no one else that can ship. If something happened to me tomorrow and I had 20 sales waiting to go out, like, we'd be up the creek. It's like, who am I going to call? I'd have to say, FaceTime Caleb. You're going to have to walk you through this. So, but anyway, it was encouraging, and the fact that she just decided out of the blue, like, hey, I think I want to do some of this today. I'm thinking, maybe we're turning the curve.
Well, see, my problem, Tanya was the full-time picture taker at the other house, and she can comp, she can pack. She's a better packer than I am. And she was taking pictures. The only thing she don't like is the actual listing process when you're putting it on eBay. So I was like, hey, if you want to take the pictures, we can both kind of comp and do all that. And if you'll just take the pictures, that's awesome. Well, it got to where she would take the pictures and she was packing too. And she would pack. She can actually pack faster than anybody, I believe, because she can take. We had 30 orders one day. She had them done in like an hour and a half. And there were big ones, small ones, medium ones. Like, there was stuff, Frankenboxing, that should have took 15, 20 minutes a piece. And she's done in, like, it might have been, I can't remember. It was like an hour one time, but she just flies. I mean, she can pack a box quicker than I can weigh it, print the label, have it stuck, and sit on a table out of the way. She'll have the next one thrown down in front of me. And I'm like, good Lord,
So what you're saying is talking and listing aren't the only things you do slowly.
Yeah, really, I do everything slow. But no, for real, she's quick. Like, she's really good. But once she got her new job and we moved out here, her drive's farther. She went from driving, and I'm not exaggerating, 3 minutes to work. Now she drives 23 minutes to work. So that takes an hour of her day pretty much away from us.
Right.
And she's working full time where she was working 3 days a week. Now she's working 40 hours a week. So her helping me has dramatically declined. She did come out here last week when she had a day off, actually through Christmas. After that, if we hadn't got sick, she'd have been out here a few days. But where we was sick, at the end of it, she come out here one day. She took like 30 or 40 listings worth of pictures. We was going to do that the other day. We just ran out of time. You know how that goes. But yeah, she can be, I mean, this whole business can be a totally different animal when you have two people.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine having three. Like, that would be crazy.
Oh, yeah. Or a whole family indentured like Kevin, I mean. That's what they say, right?
His indentured servants.
Yeah. I mean, he even gets the girlfriends, and stuff like that of his kids. I mean, it's amazing. Like, they just come out of the woodworks to help.
And has them all listing. Like,
yeah, like
I heard him say, like, Bubba's girlfriend listed some stuff, and I'm like, what? I can't even get my kids to do stuff.
Yeah.
And he's got the girlfriends helping.
Well, of course, and he, all kidding aside, he pays all them a certain, to do those things. And my issue is, like, it's hard for me at this point because I've done it by myself so long to think of trusting someone else to do that part. It is a
real thing. That is a very real thing.
Yeah.
I've actually threatened, like, I told Tanya, I said, Bailey was wanting to get a job or whatever. Of course, now she's got one, but I was like, We could put her out here. She could do the pictures and she could do the packing where I am free to totally list. I said, I could list 40 every day if that's all I was doing, just listing, nothing else. I don't have to take the pictures. I'm just sitting at the computer doing the actual computer side of listing. Like I could burn that up every day. But she's like, well, I'll help you, but I don't want no money. And I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand, Bailey. This is not just something you're going to come out there and just help me. You're going to be out there for probably 2 to 3 hours a day. Like you need to be paid.
Yeah.
That would be your job. And she's just so big hearted. She's like, oh, no, no, I'll just help you. I'm like, well, no, I'm not doing that. So
Right.
it's the way it ended up being. But
Whereas my son is like, we could go into this together and split the profits.
yeah.
Like, no, no.
Be like, are you going to split all the
Yeah.
expenses?
Yeah, dad takes all the risk, handles all the taxes, does it,
Yeah.
and you get half the profits. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It sounds like a father-son relationship
Yeah,
to me.
he keeps asking me. He still asks me from time to time. You think you're going to get going enough where I'll be able to come to work for you at some point? I'm like, yeah, it's going to have to grow a lot,
Yeah.
a lot.
When I left my job, there was a woman I worked with. She's a good friend of mine, and she said, "You let me know when you get big enough to hire. I want to be your first employee." I said, "Well," I said, "that'll probably
Yeah,
be like never." But
right.
it would take a pretty good growth spurt. Like I know people look at like my place here, like, well, look at all that stuff. Nah, you'd have to make pretty good. You'd have to do pretty good to pay somebody.
I think there's two sides of it, like you said. I think you reach a point where you either got to be satisfied with kind of where you are and what you're making, because unless you find access to really way better inventory with a higher sell value without
Yeah.
increasing your buy cost much, then you have to reach a point where, okay, you feel like you kind of maxed out. And the goal of doing this for me was never to be as run ragged as I felt sometimes before, so to
Yeah.
be within reason. But I think too, like, if you want to expand beyond that, you do reach a point where you got to be willing to take less for a while to get to where you make more, because the only way to bring someone in, none of us are probably going to be able to, if it's a one-man show, really make enough to where we feel comfortable hiring someone to work 20 or more hours a week
Absolutely.
without it cutting into our income at that point in such a significant way that it's like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't
Yep.
think we can get to that point really very easily otherwise. But like you said, even if like Bailey, like once you bring someone in, if you're working them, say, 20, 25, 30 hours a week, but it allows you to list twice as much, it's not going to be overnight, but 6 to 8 months down the road, you're going to have probably, or I would assume, right, that you could increase your income enough to compensate for what you lost to begin with,
Yep.
enough to pay them, and hopefully have a 10 or 15% increase over what you were making as well, just by having someone there. And then you can look at, okay, so now they're already in place. If I increase their hours by 5, by 10,
Yep.
then what does that do? If I teach them something else to do so I can go pick more,
Yep.
be more active picking and get better stuff, you get these other avenues. But yeah, I think you got to be willing in most cases to bite the bullet and take a little less for a while when you make that transition, unless you got some other source of revenue that's going to cover it, that you've set up. But
No, that's exactly right. It's tough, it's tough the whole thing is that trust, like it all comes down to, do you trust your own judgment? That's usually how it happens
yeah.
for me. It's like, do I trust my own judgment? I do have one question for you.
Uh-oh. This
If
the joke.
Apple owned a dance studio, I done messed it up. If Apple owned a dance stadium, would it be called the Mac Arena?
It's possible. Possible. All right, so here you go. I was about to hit you with mine. So mine's a little longer than that, but I thought this was really funny. I read this. I may not get it exactly right. I didn't write it down. I didn't copy it. This is kind of
Uh-oh.
coming off my head, but we'll do the best we can with it because it's really funny. So there was this preacher that had started having trouble with his teeth, and so he wound up going to the dentist, had to have his teeth pulled, and he got new teeth, got false teeth. First Sunday back at church, when he got up to preach, he only preached about 8 minutes. I mean, that's all he could do, just about 8 minutes. The next Sunday he got up and he preached about 10 minutes, and he had to bring it to a close and sat down. Well, the next Sunday he got up and he started preaching. 30 minutes went by, 45 minutes, hit an hour, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And finally, a couple of the members made it up there, and they pulled him. They got him down and got him to sit down, and finally got him to be quiet. So it's time to stop. And when he got settled down, they asked him what was wrong. He said, "Well, that first week when I came back, my mouth was so sore I could barely talk. So it just got hurting so bad I had to stop." And said the next week I felt a little better, but it was still tough. And this morning I got up and said I didn't realize it till I got here, but I put my wife's teeth in and I couldn't shut up.
That's pretty good. I like it. That's pretty good.
Had you heard it before?
No.
Okay.
Well, I've heard similar things.
Yeah, I know. It's going along those lines. But
that's pretty good stuff.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, now that we've made everybody mad, we've alienated every woman in the audience.
Nah, we love you guys.
Yeah,
I love my wife. I promise. We had an interesting. I won't share a lot, but it wasn't nothing major. But like she had to have a little surgery done this last week. It was kind of a last minute thing, a little laparoscopic procedure, and so we had that going on too. It was a busy week. We started off with mom in the hospital on Sunday. We had 3 trips to Birmingham. The last one was all day long for that surgery, before we got to come home at the end of the week on Friday, and then recovery through the weekend. And yeah, it's been an interesting, interesting week, busy, crazy week for us, but we're on the other side of it now. Praise the Lord.
That's good. Glad to hear everybody's good and happy, and yeah, just good. And one more question. How much does an influencer weigh? No? On Instagram. Oh,
wow.
That's to send everybody home happy. Gotta send them home happy. The terrible dad jokes have returned.
Yeah. Emphasis capital T.
Yes. All right. Well, it's going to do it.
That sounds like it.
Any last words?
I don't think so. I think we're good, man. It's been fun, like always.
Absolutely. All right. Well, until next time, you guys about said keep seeking the old paths. That's not right.
That's all right, though. It's a good thing to do.
It is.
It's a good thing
we
to
are
do.
2 old guys. We're out. See you next time, guys.
See you guys.